This is Toledo Symphony Lab, a behind-the-scenes look at the world of classical music from WGTE Public Media and your Toledo Symphony. I'm Brad Cresswell, and joining me in the studio today, we are fully masked and socially distant. That is the Toledo Symphony's president and CEO, Zach Vassar. We also have the marketing director of the Toledo Symphony, Vanessa Gardner, and on the phone, we have our music director, Elaine Trudell, and a very, very special guest that is... Wait for it. We pulled out all the stops for our guest, conductor Vinay Parameshwaran. Welcome, Vinay.
Thank you so much for having me. Great to be here.
So glad to have you here. Just by way of introduction, you are the associate conductor of the Cleveland Orchestra. You were just recently promoted from assistant conductor to associate conductor, so congratulations for that.
That's what the fanfare was for.
Yes, and you also conduct the Cleveland Orchestra, youth orchestra as well. Let me start off by asking you, now, what's the difference between being the assistant conductor of the Cleveland Orchestra and the associate conductor of the Cleveland Orchestra?
I've gotten that question quite a bit the last few days. People have been asking, so how does it feel now to be associate instead of assistant? And to be honest, my job is pretty much the same. Maybe a little bit of a fancier title, a little bit more money in the bank account, but besides that, it's pretty much the same. I get to conduct quite a bit at Cleveland Orchestra. Thank you. Work with Franz Wilser-Muss and guest conductors, and so it's just an amazing place to work and to be, and I'm just really grateful to stay here a little longer.
Well, as we know, the Cleveland Orchestra is one of the world's great orchestras, so it's a real treat that you're going to make the trip over here from Cleveland to Toledo. You were here before for the Beethoven and Mozart concert, right?
Yeah, just a couple months ago.
Yeah, so it's a return appearance for you. You were conducting this program called Postcards from Prague. Two different works associated with the wonderful city of Prague, that is the Serenade for Strings by Antonín Dvořák, and the Mozart Symphony No. 38, also called the Prague Symphony because it premiered there. And we're going to talk about all of that, but before we get into that, I want to hear your story. Let's get to know you a little better, Vinay. So I'm going to bring up a little music. Before Cleveland, you were in Nashville, but I want to go way, 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 way back to when you were like 4 years old or so, and you started playing the piano, and then you got into drums. So let's go back and talk about that. Let me pull up some music for you. This will kind of set the Czechoslovakian mood here. Okay. Take it away, Vinay.
All right. Well, so I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, born and raised in California. I started piano when I was 4, and I grew up in a house of 8, and my parents still found the generous spirit to buy a 6-year-old a drum set in a house of 8. So God bless them for doing that.
Wow.
But I started playing drum set and then other percussion instruments when I was in elementary school, and for me, where my love of classical music really burgeoned was when I played in the San Francisco Symphony Youth Orchestra, which is one of the, really elite youth orchestras that we have. And I did that for 6 years, from when I was 11 to when I graduated high school. And, the experience of playing Shostakovich 10 and Mahler 2 when you're in middle school and playing Prokofiev 5 where it premiered, it was just an amazing experience, as a middle schooler and high schooler. So I did not know what I really wanted to do. I knew I loved music and wanted to be around it in some way, but so I didn't want to go to music school when I was graduating high school, so I went to Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island. Go Bears! And I actually have a double degree in political science and music. And I think I was always interested in conducting, being in the back of the orchestra. When you sit in the back, you don't play much. You spend most of your time counting rests. But I think what it allowed me to do was it just gave me a chance to listen to what was going on around me, and I just loved all the sounds I was hearing, and I was just really inspired watching conductors work, how they projected their vision of the music we were playing, how they shaped the sound. I just thought that was really interesting and cool, and so when I was at Brown, I just went to our director of orchestras, a man named Paul Phillips, who now teaches at Stanford, and I just said, what does one do? Like, how do you become a conductor? How do you even get into this? And at the time, Brown had a very small music department, and so I knew all the faculty, and they knew all the students really well. And so he took me on as a private student. And so once a week, I would go down to his house, and we were starting from scratch. I mean, I didn't know how to read a score. I didn't know how to transpose instruments, how to read alto clef. Like, I didn't know any of those things.
You played percussion, so of course you didn't know how to read a score.
Yeah. I mean, why would I care about those people in the front, right?
Yeah.
I just want to make as much noise as I can in the back. And, the rule is you play until you get the hand, right? That was my philosophy. Thanks. So we really started from the basics, and it was just really wonderful, like, as a nice way to, leave my classes and go and immerse myself in music. And, before I knew it, he kind of threw me in front of the university orchestra, which was an orchestra that was quite good for, college orchestra. It was an orchestra made up of future doctors and lawyers and engineers, and not many people who did music as a career, but people who loved classical music and were really passionate about classical music. And that's the first time I really started conducting. And, thankfully, every time I fell on my face, it was in front of my friends. So I think it was a soft landing. It was, all those first experiences. But I was going to go to law school. That was, the path I was on. And I was doing these legal internships, during summers. And the summer after my sophomore year, I was living in New York and working at the district attorney's office in Brooklyn as a legal assistant. And
Wow.
I was doing that during the day. And then after work, I would go home and just pour myself into scores like, Brahms 1, Schumann 2, just, a lot of the real masterpieces. And I realized pretty quickly that's where I found my happy place was not at the office. It was at home, just living with these scores. And so I thought, maybe law school is not for me right now. I just want to kind of see what this conducting thing is about. And, I figured you only get one shot to do something like this. So I put law school plans aside and put the LSAT books away. Thankfully, I've never opened them since. I started looking at programs to apply to for conducting. And, my first youth orchestra conductor, Alistair Neal, who was a wonderful conductor, I'm still in touch with him. He's been a mentor of mine for, 20 years now. When I told him, I think I want to apply to conducting programs, he's the one who put Curtis on my radar because, Otto Werner Mueller was teaching there, and he was a student of Maestro Mueller. And so I applied to a bunch of programs in the U.S., and Curtis was the last audition, and, was lucky enough to be accepted. And I actually was in Maestro Mueller's last studio, for him as a teacher. And when you look at the track record of all the people he taught, Alan Gilbert and Yahya Ling, Miguel Arthbedoya, just really a lot of really successful conductors. It was just amazing to be in that studio. So I was at Curtis for 4 years, and then my first position was with the Nashville Symphony. I was assistant and associate conductor there for 3.5 seasons, and then was lucky enough to be offered a position here in Cleveland, and I started in Cleveland in the fall of 2017, and here I am today, still in Cleveland. Thanks.
Okay, Vinay's story. I mean, that's basically everything that we could possibly want to know about you as far as career goes. But
Yeah.
I do want to mention that you said the magic word at one point. You said Mahler when you were 10 years old, and I saw Zach's eyes light up because, as you may or may not know, Zach is a huge Mahler-phile, right?
Oh,
he
that's
true.
loves the
That's very
music of
true.
Gustav Mahler. Zach, was I right when I saw your...
You're right.
I can only see your eyes because we have masks on,
That's right.
but your eyebrows went way up when he said that.
I just always wonder what kids think of when they play Mahler in that setting, just because it's it's such a, I think it's music that needs experience, but kids seem to play it so beautifully. So when you talk about playing the Resurrection Symphony as a teenager, it just kind of makes my head spin a little bit.
Did you ever swing that great big hammer in which symphony is it?
That'd be 6.
Symphony
six.
Number 6.
Yeah.
Did you ever
So,
get that opportunity?
I never got to play it, but at Brown we played Mahler 6, and we actually built the platform and the hammer from scratch. Like
Wow.
our section mates. So I didn't get to swing it, but
Future lawyers and doctors and hammer builders.
They called it a gavel there because of all the professionals.
A gavel, yes.
When were you at Brown? What years?
05 to 09.
The story of building that platform is ringing a bell. I was in Boston at that time, and I might have played that concert.
Yeah.
Maybe?
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, let's just say you did.
Yeah, sure. I did.
Yeah.
Totally.
For the sake of the podcast.
Yeah.
We'll say that you guys actually intersected in some
Wow, we were orchestra buddies.
Could have been.
Yeah.
Malarian way back in the day.
Probably weren't, but could have been.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the concert and the music on the concert. I mean, Prague is one of the world's great cities, and there's a big relationship that went on between Mozart and Prague. I mean, he was in Vienna for the last 10 years of his life, Mozart that is, but he really had a special relationship with the Prague public. His operas were a big success there, and this symphony was a big success as well. Elaine, I know we've got you on the phone. Are you still there, Elaine?
Absolutely.
Excellent. I know that you're juggling your daughter and Prokofiev this morning. Today,
it's all good.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Peter Nove has this hypnotic effect on her. So
maybe you want to fill us in a little bit on the Mozart Prague connection.
Of course. Well, let's transpose this in something that we can all relate to. Let's say being appreciated, feeling that the work that we do, the talent we have, and how much we want to share it with the public or with different people. It doesn't have to be in music, but I'll give you a good example. I mean, it's very, very bad, I know, to mix sports with that, but there was a big trade between, of course, the Rams and the Detroit Lions, which we should know because they're very close to us. And you have somebody coming to Detroit and people say, "Oh, you must be, a bit sad because it's not as good as a team right now." And they probably will be much, much better soon. So, but he said, no, I'm just happy to be somewhere where I feel appreciated. So Mozart was in Vienna, and this is, of course, all, everything we say that's sports music, the analogy is not always great, but we can relate to that. You have a job somewhere, you go to somewhere else, they really go, "Oh, we like you," and say, "Oh, okay, so it wasn't too bad after all." So Mozart in Vienna, everybody's a little bit... as Molière used to say, stuck up. And then Mozart decides, I'm going to keep traveling around. He had a reputation since he was very young because he traveled all over Europe as a very, very young child with his family, and then later on as a guest. So Prague, he had a good following in Prague. People appreciated his music, and he felt so appreciated there when they played his operas and his music. He was invited, so he wrote a symphony, kind of tailor-made for them. So usually symphonies have 4 movements, and at that time in Czechoslovakia they like symphonies with 3 movements. It's a specialty that they have, and the big specialty that country had were their wind and brass, especially the French horn, especially the clarinets, the wind and brass players. They were throughout Europe. They were. And they still are, especially in the French horn. They're among the best that you can find. It's a big, big tradition that goes back hundreds of years. So Mozart wrote a lot of wind solos and the symphony he wrote for there. And you can see that there's love in it in the sense that it's not a commission. Now, sometimes we forget about that. Mozart, it's Prague Symphony because it was played there. Actually, there's not even a real proof that it was premiered there, but everything points toward that direction. Yeah. But Mozart, we seem to forget that, yes, he got some commission to write some works, but he's the first really freelance symphonist, because his last 3 symphonies, as we know, he wrote them in the same summer, and he just wrote them because it had to come out. So it's really precursor of the romantic idea of art. It's something that you have inside of you that has to come out, instead of being something that is very practical in a way that the king needs some music for this event.
Right.
You write something. Or nobility or rich people, they go like, oh, well, we'd like to have one of your symphonies. Okay, you write something. But remember that my cousin plays this instrument, so write a nice part for that instrument. Okay, we'll put something in there. But Mozart really wrote, especially, we talk about the last 3 symphonies, but we can talk about this one too. It's 38, the one just before. Out of, enjoyment, fun. And you can hear in this more than a lot of his symphonies. I don't know if you will agree, but you can hear its operatic style. That's the beginning, like 39,
Absolutely.
40, 41, yes.
Yeah.
But, 38, right from the top, it's like, opera overture. And the last movement has the almost Sturm und Drang, about it, storm, in it, about the Romantic era. There was a little glimpse of that a few years before he wrote this, but then you can really, it's opening a whole new door. So, so Vignette, you get to conduct Beethoven's first, and then Mozart's symphony that opens the door to Beethoven's first.
Yeah. Lucky me.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Vignette, you sound like you may have a thing or two to say about this particular symphony.
No, I agree with Alain. It's Mozart writing for the symphony on an operatic scale, and not just in terms of the scope of the piece. It's a pretty lengthy introduction, and even the first part of the allegro is quite meaty as well. But it's also, I think, in scope in terms of drama and emotion. The symphony was written between Figaro and Giovanni, and the opening introduction has all the hallmarks that we know of Giovanni, this kind of foreboding music in the timpani, rising bass line, things like that. So I think that's what makes the symphony so unique. It's really exploring, what more a symphony can do than, what was really customary for that time.
Yay! Whoops, the wrong one.
Just like
Sorry,
that.
let me try that one. There we go. That occasionally happens. I hit the wrong button on the soundboard.
As George Jetson once said, button pushing is very hard work.
Yay! So before we go any further, I do want to mention that.
Guys.
What was that?
What was that?
That was not Elaine, was it?
Good job, guys.
Oh, good job, guys.
Aw.
Good job. Excellent.
Is
You
it a
did a
Tiny
good job
Trudel?
too. Tiny Trudel.
Mm-hmm. Well
Yeah.
done.
As sometimes happens, we have an extra guest on the podcast.
I thought that was
This
your
morning.
soundboard, Brad. You looked as surprised as I did.
No, but I think that I'm going to make that a
You
part
might
of my
have to, yeah.
soundboard. Definitely. Let's mention when the concert is happening and how people can watch this concert. Vanessa, it's happening this weekend, right? There's a performance Friday night.
Friday night.
Okay, at
Yep.
8 o'clock p.m., available for live streaming.
Correct, yes. Stream.artstoledo.com.
Stream.artstoledo.com. Folks can also still call the box office, right, for information. That
Sure.
is 419-246-8000. Music of Mozart. We'll hear Wolfgang Mozart's Prague Symphony, number 38. Also the Serenade for Strings by Antonin Dvorak. And before we get into the Dvorak, I want to dial up our quiz. Or did you have something you want to say first, Zach?
Oh no. I was
Okay.
going to make a dumb joke.
Okay.
Would you
Well-
care for me to do so?
No.
Are you sure? Are you really sure?
No, we dodged that bullet. So
Given my marketing background, if I were trying to sell this concert, I would encourage people to come and check it out.
wow.
Yeah, well,
I'm trying to decide
you're
if that
not.
deserves
Yeah,
a
which button
sound
are
or
you
not.
gonna-
Yeah, which button am I going to press?
Silence is the biggest insult.
Yeah, okay. So
keep that one
I used to
in
have
mind.
crickets on the board, but I don't have them anymore. Okay, our Prague quiz. This is a City of Prague quiz, and you tell me if this statement is about Prague or if it's about a different city in the world. These are all true. Some of them pertain to the city of Prague. Some of them do not. Okay?
Are any of these, just so I know, are they like this city has streetlights, so it's Prague and other cities? Okay, good.
No,
Thank
you got that one wrong. Okay.
It's a question.
Zach is
Yes.
already negative. He's got
Vanessa
negative points.
Vanessa predicted that Merwin would win the quiz anyway, so he's not here. Okay, here we go. Little music. All right. Citizens in this city drink more beer per capita than anywhere else in the world.
That is
Prague or
absolutely
not?
Prague.
That is absolutely Prague. No, it is Prague. Yeah. In fact, a favorite thing for folks to do is sit on the banks of the Vltava River. You know, we heard a little bit of Moldau earlier, so every time I hear that Smetana Moldau, I think of people basically getting drunk. Okay.
In completely unrelated news, it's also been voted one of the best cities to have a hangover.
Wow. Well, this may be the reason. You can visit a beer spa where you not only bathe in beer, but you get an unlimited amount to drink. Ooh. True or false? Is that Prague or not?
I feel like that's Milwaukee. That's what they do with the bratwurst. Why not the people?
No, it is the city of Prague. It is the city of Prague. So that one goes to Merwin. Okay. The ballpoint pen was invented here. Here being whatever city I'm talking about. Is that Prague or not?
I'm going to say Prague because why else would you have that on the quiz?
No, it's actually
so random.
the city of Buenos Aires.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Close enough.
So that goes to Merwin.
Wow.
Okay.
Tomatoes.
Yes. A favorite delicacy is pork knuckle. Is that Prague or not?
Not Prague. Seriously.
Oh.
I figured it had to be somewhere in Germany.
It is Prague. It's a favorite. That goes to Merwin.
These are all Prague so far, yes?
No. We had one that was not Prague.
Right.
Okay. It is home to the annual World Gurning Championships, where contestants make the most grotesque face possible.
True.
No, that's not Prague. Another point for Merwin. Okay.
Well, where is it? I want to know where to go.
It's actually a little town called Egremont on the northeast coast of England.
Oh, that's just how they look.
I mean, it's been going on since the 13th century, evidently. And some people have been known to have their teeth removed just so they can make a face. I mean, that's what I call commitment.
Well,
right there.
Dentists love it.
Call it England.
Yeah. Dentist paradise.
Drive north past Sneer and then turn left.
Yeah. Okay. This city has more households with pets than with children. Is it Prague or not?
I'm going to say yes, that it's Prague. Oh, I was so hopeful.
No,
He lulled you into that one.
That is actually Seattle.
Oh.
Seattle.
Okay.
Seattle.
Okay. According
Merwin
to
is
the...
really doing well today.
He is, indeed. I even stopped counting at this point. Okay. According to the Guinness Book of World Records, it has the largest castle in the world. Is that Prague or not?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Elaine got
the most
that.
Beautiful.
Yeah, the Prague Castle. It's 426 wide and 230,000 square feet of land. There's almost 2 million visitors a year.
426 what wide? Feet, miles, rooms?
Feet.
Feet.
426 feet wide. Yeah, I had to translate from meters.
Thank you.
I would like to dedicate my correct answer to Merwin.
Alain, I'm right here. I'm right here.
Merwin will be very happy when he hears this. Okay. Now, if you're pushing a child in a stroller,
You are not in Seattle.
if you're
pushing a dog in a stroller.
Yes, you
might
are.
be.
If you're pushing a child in a stroller, public buses are free. So if you have a kid in a stroller, you can ride the bus for free. Is that Prague or not?
Yes.
No.
Oh, come on.
That's
Oh,
actually
so
in
hopeful.
Stockholm, in Sweden.
Oh.
Feels
Yeah.
like you can also
So-
get some meatballs.
But I wonder if, like, people, borrow kids so they can ride the bus for free.
Let's go to Stockholm and
I
find out.
would really rather pay for the bus in that case.
Yeah. Okay.
Stockholm Central?
Can I add something that has nothing to do with what we're talking about?
Go for
By
it.
all means, it's a quiz.
Because you said people borrowing kids to go out. We've had a curfew here in Quebec, except if you're walking your dog. So people are renting dogs after 8 o'clock in the evening.
Wow.
Okay, fun fact from our music director.
It's
Elaine
also 5
Chappelle.
degrees there. It seems inhumane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Merwin knew that.
I like how you keep going back to this charming music in between asides.
Yeah. Showing up on time is considered rude. Is that in Prague or
I think
not?
that's here in Toledo.
That's how I roll.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you said not Prague, basically, so I'll give
It's
that
not
to you.
Prague, yeah.
It's actually Venezuela. In Venezuela.
Oh,
I don't have
that
a...
explains so much. One
Toledo
of my
is the
best
Venezuela
friends,
of Ohio.
Yes.
One of my best friends is Venezuelan. That explains
But
a
Venezuela
lot.
is not a city,
Look,
as
it's
a
your
matter
quiz.
of fact. I just figured that out. Okay. It has
Wait, did
one...
you look at a map?
It has one of the narrowest public streets in the world at less than 20 inches wide. There also happens to be one stoplight on the street to keep people from getting stuck when they go in opposite directions.
That's not Prague.
Right? So it's a one-way. Wait a minute. That is Prague.
Got so
That is
excited.
Prague.
I think that
Yes.
should be more of a tourist attraction, except you get
Okay.
stuck.
That goes to Merwin. All right. Every August, locals engage in a massive tomato fight, leaving them covered in vegetable carnage. Is that Prague or not?
Not.
No, not Prague. It's in Spain. What's the name of that town again?
Buñol in
Yeah,
Valencia. Yeah, it's called La Tomatina,
No, of course it is.
where they have a food
Been
fight
there.
every year.
Let's hope you didn't do a concert there, Alain, because then they would be throwing that at the stage in celebration.
Oh,
Yeah, something like
Wasn't a joke.
that.
It wasn't a joke.
Here's a good one. There's a sculpture of Sigmund Freud hanging from a rope by the neck off the top of a building, which has caused many people to call the police for many years because they thought somebody was actually hanging themselves, but it's a sculpture. Is that Prague or not?
Not.
No, it's Prague.
I'm going to
Yeah.
add a 50-50
It's totally Prague.
Totally.
Okay, here's the last one. To keep drunk people from urinating on buildings, public officials sprayed the town with a special chemical that deflects the liquid right back at the perpetrators.
Ew.
Is that Prague or not?
That
It
is
sounds
not
like a
Prague.
brilliant
That is
idea.
not Prague. It's a great idea, but it's not Prague.
Yeah, that is actually Hamburg, Germany. So be warned if you ever go to Hamburg.
It's
Right?
one of my favorite places to see.
Okay, so the winner is Merwin. Yeah, we definitely have to give that to Merwin. Although it's hard to tell. I mean, I've got a lot of M's on the board here. I see that Zach got a couple, Vanessa got a couple, and Elaine got one. So if we want to limit it to people here, we can say it was a tie between Vanessa and Zach.
Oh, look at that,
Right?
everybody. Wow. That's amazing.
Excellent.
Miracle.
Vinay got a point or two, yeah.
Nope.
Nope.
But thanks.
That's okay. You have plenty of points on the podium when you come here to Toledo. We're going to run out of time with the on-air version of our program, but we can continue a little bit with the podcast because I do want to talk about music of Antonin Dvorak and his Serenade for Strings. If somebody wants to talk about that, I can bring up a little of that music because this actually we have a license to play on air and on the podcast. So
That was going to be a James Bond film, License to Play. Yeah.
who's going to jump in?
Not me at that
well,
point.
actually, I talked a lot about the Mozart. Maybe even you can talk a little bit about that, and I'll be happy to compliment after.
Okay.
Oh,
Sure.
it doesn't mean the same thing in English, right? Okay, sorry.
So the Dvorak was written at a. I think what you can tell in this piece is a confident composer. It was written during quite a joyous time in Dvorak's life. He was recently married, happy family. He was experiencing success as a composer. Beyond his home, and it actually only took him like 10 days to write this piece. So. Really someone who was feeling confident at the height of his powers, and it's a piece that I think it's one of my favorite pieces of Dvorak, and I think what makes it so unique is just how simple it is. That melody that you just played from the opening of the piece is very simple, but yet again does not take away from the beauty of the piece or just what a masterpiece it is, how he uses string instruments. Some of the most memorable melodies that Dvorak wrote are in this Serenade for Strings, and yet it still has, the excitement and the vigor, like a Czech dance in the finale, that we hear in other Dvorak pieces. So, we were talking about this, a couple days ago, but I think what makes it, what I love about Dvorak is the music is just full of surprises, and sometimes they're really subtle. It could be a melody comes back, but it's written in a different way, or a different instrument has it, or it's written at a different dynamic. The accompaniment is different, something like that. Just really subtle things that he does that even though it's a simple form, it's not predictable. And I think that's what that's really a hallmark of Dvorak's music, and certainly you find it in this Serenade for Strings.
Absolutely. And that's good because we're out of music, so that was perfectly timed. Yeah, well timed. We should mention again, the concert is happening this Friday night. It is at 8 o'clock p.m., available for live streaming. That website is stream.artstoledo.com. And Zach, people can still use, like there's a Roku app that they can use.
Roku and Apple TV.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
you have to go to stream.artstoledo.com to make the transaction, to purchase a ticket, and then it should link to your Roku or Apple TV if you've signed in with the same information.
And it's got to be the Apple TV set-top box, not the Apple TV app.
Okay. All right.
Big distinction.
We'll do a whole show just on that.
Yeah, we should, actually.
Yes, exactly. We can figure all that out.
I just have a question I'd love to ask the conductors about the Dvorak. I love Dvorak's chamber music. I love what he does with string quartets, with trios. He adds a piano in sometimes. How do you feel this fits into Dvorak's work? Is this more chamber music, or is this closer to what he does in his symphonies?
Good question. What's interesting for me is that he picks a lot of, be it in chamber or symphonic, a lot of folk music that we don't necessarily know. But I remember once I was conducting Dvorak 8th Symphony, and there was it was I think in Victoria, and this older woman came up to me after the show, and she started singing the second theme of the third movement. She would go, "Oh, Dumka, it's a Dumka," and she was dancing around, and she was singing the complete tune. And for us, it's like, okay, it's like classical music, really tuneful, but imagine if it's all stuff like, when we listen to Copland or when we listen, so they're all things that are really close to us. Like when we listen, for example, to Appalachian Spring, and then you hear Simple Gifts in it, and everybody goes, oh, yeah. Imagine in Dvorak, in this piece also, there's so much of that. Everything is based around singing, around songs, around melody, be it symphonic or chamber. That's, I think, one thing that he has more than a lot of the composers is that his material is of such high quality that you can put it in a symphony, in a string quartet, quintet. You could feel like you can orchestrate his chamber music. It'd be like that. You can reduce a bit of the symphony. It's always top quality material, that like the basic material that he uses for that. So I absolutely did not give you an answer. I'm sorry, but it's just but it's just so. It could be either, but at the same time, you feel. I don't personally feel that he's thinking necessarily in terms of this is so important that I write for a symphony, or so important. Every work is important. Every work has the same quality of tune, because sometimes you have a more intimate quality, more private in the chamber music, and more kind of not bombastic, but something that's more like public at large in the symphonies. And Dvorak is the same for everything. For me, that really stands out. Anyway, just a thought.
The concert is called Postcards from Prague. It is happening this Friday night, February 19th at 8 o'clock p.m. Antonín Dvorak's Serenade for Strings, and also Wolfgang Mozart's Symphony No. 38, his Prague Symphony. More information at ToledoSymphony.com. You can stream all the concerts of the Toledo Symphony, including this one, at stream.artstoledo.com. If you want to call up the box office, that line is 419-246-8000. We should mention also that the concert is being conducted by our guest today, Vinay Parameswaran. Vinay, I want to thank you so much for spending some time with us here on Toledo Symphony Lab.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I'm looking forward to this performance.
This program is a production of WGTE Public Media in collaboration with our sponsor, the Toledo Symphony, with generous support from the Rita Barber Kern Foundation. You can download episodes of our program as a podcast by going to our website at wgte.org/lab. You can also subscribe to us through your podcast app of choice, including Apple and Google Podcasts. Don't forget to check out all the upcoming events at the Symphony by visiting their website at ToledoSymphony.com and their various social media outlets on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And again, you can find those streaming concerts from the TSO that's online at stream.artstoledo.com. My thanks to Zach Vassar, Vanessa Gardner, Elaine Trudell, and of course, Vinay Parameswaran. I'm Brad Cresswell. You've been listening to Toledo Symphony Lab from FM 91.